Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saranagamaṇaṃ sampunnaṃ, Pānāti pātā veramani, Sikkhapaдаṃ samadhiyāmi, Adinādāna veramani, Sikkhapaдаṃ samadhiyāmi, Kāmesu micchāchārā veramani, Sikkhapadaṃ samadhiyāmi, Musāvādā veramani, Sikkhapadaṃ samadhiyāmi, Surāmeraya majjapamā daṭṭhānā veramani, Sikkhapadaṃ samadhiyāmi, Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ, Dhammaṃ sādhukaṃ surakkhitāṃ khattvā, Appamādena sampādeta. Okay, you may now all be seated. Prior to us commencing, as usual, let us take a moment once again to reflect and acknowledge the fact that it is because of the Supremely Enlightened One, the Perfect One, the Unparalleled One, the Unequaled One, the Unvanquished One, the Samma Sambuddha, that we have this Dhamma today. It is because of His infinite sacrifice, infinite wisdom, infinite concentration, and infinite dedication for the liberation of all beings that we have this Dhamma today. So, prior to us commencing, let us take a moment to pay homage to the Gautama Samma Sambuddhajanan Vahanse. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And also, let us take a moment to reflect on the fact again that although today we may be in robes and you in white, and this is because of the gift of Dhamma, our lives have changed beyond recognition, beyond our wildest imagination. As you will know, as you will have experienced, you are not the same people who you used to be, and that is because of the Dhamma. However, in this infinitely long journey that we have come in samsara, we have not always had the gift of associating the Dhamma, or those who could gift us the Dhamma, the Kalyana Mitras, the noble ones, the moral ones. And through our association with ignoble and immoral people, our minds having been defiled with raga, dvesha, moha, that is desire, aversion and delusion, and been blinded with avidya and tanha, ignorance and attachment, we may have offended, abused and desecrated the noble ones, the Samma Sambuddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas, the Arahata Buddhas, Anagami, Sakurdagami, Sotapannas, be they on the path or having attained the fruits, as well as the Buddha's ministry, the Sambuddha Shasana. Any words of slander, abuse or deeds of desecration that we might have directed towards these noble ones, as well as the Sambuddha Shasana, either knowingly or unknowingly, may today hinder our progress, our understanding of the Dhamma. So, prior to us commencing, let us all take a moment to seek forgiveness from the noble ones for any abuse, any slander, any desecration that we might have directed towards them in all our time in samsara, from the beginning, whenever that might have been, to this moment. And also prior to us commencing, let us all make a firm resolve that through the course of this sermon, may I and everyone else who are here today to listen to this sermon, the Devas, Brahmas, spirits, demons and the dead who will be inviting in just a moment, may they all be able to understand this Dhamma, comprehend this Dhamma and attain the noble achievement of Sotapanna. So, as I now make this invitation out to all the Devas, Brahmas, spirits, demons and the dead, I invite you all to extend that invitation out in your hearts and in your minds. Let us open up these places. May they join us. If any of those beings who have been our brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, nephews and so on, throughout the infinite time that we have come through in samsara, anyone who might have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape or form, let us invite them all to join us. If any of them have been born in the woeful plane, may they witness this meritorious deed and through the power generated be able to be born in the blissful plane. And for all those beings born in the blissful plane, may this sermon help them to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So as I make this invitation, I ask you all to extend that invitation to all of them and invite them to join us. Samanta Chakravalesu Atta Gacchantu Devata Sadhammang Munirajasansa Sunantu Saggamokkadang Dhamma savana kalo ayang badhanta Dhamma savana kalo ayang badhanta Dhamma savana kalo ayang badhanta. Okay. Most venerable members of the Mahasangha, distinguished guests, I think finally I can, in the truest sense of the word, say welcome to you all. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our home, and perhaps home for some of you in the future. Who knows? Lots has happened since the last time we met, and I'm sure most of you will be abreast with what's going on. The circus that the world is performing out there, and we are just spectators, witnessing, and constantly that serves as a reminder to ourselves. Every day I remind myself the reason that you have to be a recipient of words of abuse, dishonor, discredit, and so on and so forth is because you're still in samsara. Whose fault is that now? No one asked me to be here. Whose fault is it that I'm still here? Whose fault is it that I still have to be on this seat today, preaching to you? And that's because I didn't do what I had to do when I had the opportunity many chances before. Every time I came across a Sambuddha Shasana, and there may have been times when I had the opportunity to listen to the Buddha's preaching right in front of him, from his own mouth, in his presence, and yet I did not fulfill what it is that I had to. I did not do service to myself. So this is why we are here today. This is why I'm here today. And that is it's a stark reminder every day. But what I also understand is that when it comes to Nibbana, when it comes to achieving a goal that we have set for ourselves, there is very little point in regretting. There is very little point in regretting in any way, shape or form. I mean, some people regret, oh, how many Buddhas have I come past by now? Oh, bugger, I'm never going to be able to do this. This is another era of the Buddha. It's another one I'm going to be going past. These are all reasons for regret. Then there are others who regret, I should have started this journey much earlier in my life. Why did I wait so long in my life to start this journey? I'm old now. I'm frail now. I'm weak now. Why did I wait so long? These are all thoughts of regret. Then there are others who think, if only I were born a man, then perhaps I could have ordained at the monastery. I'm sure there are some among you who feel that way. And there are lots of our listeners who do come and express these thoughts with us. So this is how I know. But what I want to really help you understand, ladies and gentlemen, is regretting doesn't really get us anything. It doesn't get us anywhere. True, we have to learn from our mistakes. Making the same mistakes over and over gets us nowhere except for the same place that we got to. And as a result of which, we are experiencing the errors of our ways. So we have to learn from our mistakes, but then it's a turning point from that point forward. All experiences we take are blessings. That's how we should see this. Because you see, we have no say on what vipakas that come our way, do we? Can you determine? Because if that were the case, then you can pick and choose which results of deeds you want to experience and enjoy. If that were the case, none of you would be wearing spectacles right now. Anyone like wearing spectacles? Anyone thought, hey, that's a really nice thing to do. Let me get myself a pair. I remember there was a time in my life I had to wear spectacles. That wasn't welcome, but I had to live with it. Then all the times that you were ill, ailed, disease, illness, none of these things we can pick and choose. There may be some of you who wish for a son but had a daughter. There may be others who wish for a daughter but had a son. There may be others who wish to achieve different ambitions in your life than the ones that you're fulfilling today, than the professions that you're in today. These are all results. Results we can not really do anything about. Because once you put 3 and 3 in its place and add the addition symbol between the two, Now you can't change the fact that it's a 6 that's going to come out at the end of the equation. You can't change that. Because the equation, the formula, the inputs have been determined. You can't change the processing, because the processing is a universal law. This is what we call Dharmatava. This is the Dhamma, the cosmic law. This is how everything operates. So we can't change that. Once the inputs have been put in, the process is run, and now you get the outputs. Now what you have to reap what you sow. Absolutely. You have to reap what you sow. You can't sow mangoes and expect oranges. That would be madness, wouldn't it? Yes, see, even he knows. So if you want oranges, what is it that you have to sow? Orange. So if you want to reap good results, beneficial results, results that you can enjoy, that help you to relieve some of the suffering that come into your life. I mean, ultimately, what is good results? What are good results? We speak about punya vipaka, good results. What are they? Yes, I get it. It is the results of good deeds. But essentially, what is their purpose? If you think for a moment about the society that we live in, there are some who have little means to get by, who struggle to make ends meet. Then there are others who live a mediocre life. They make enough money to live a reasonably comfortable life. They have a dwelling. They can put all 3 meals on a plate, and everyone in the home is fed. But that's just about enough to make a life going. Then there are others who live in the lap of luxury. At the flick of their fingers, they can demand whatever it is that they like. Who have the opportunity to live in mansions and castles, and others who have the opportunity to satisfy their hunger by eating all types of food and delicacies and so on. They sleep on the most luxurious beds. How many layers do mattresses come in these days? I remember when we first came into the monastery, and it's really good that you've today have had an opportunity to visit us here, because firsthand you will be able to experience some of the things that I've been speaking to you about in the previous sermons. I don't know if you can spot, but because of the fact that we've uprooted some of the rubber trees that used to constrict your vision, as you walk outside and you just look upwards, you'll be able to see a structure that has been built using wood and sheets. And it's about, I would say, 5 feet long and perhaps maybe 3 feet wide and about 6 foot tall. These are our toilets. So there are about 50 of us at the monastery, and this is the facilities that we use at the monastery. And we are quite comfortable with that. I guarantee. Sometimes you have to wait because there's a bit of a queue, especially after the dane. But other than that, we really have no problem. And usually, what I really enjoy is when there's normally a queue, I find Swami and Mahansa speaking to each other on a 1 to 5, where are you? How soon do you need the facilities? On a scale of 1 to 5. This is all, really being supportive of each other. Being able to relate to another man's pain. Being able to empathize with another person. Because just because I am first in the line, I am first in ourselves. Saradharma. These are the values that define us. These are the values that build a good foundation on which we can build the palace of Nibbana. Because if the foundation is not strong enough, then you are not going to get very far. And these are all good values. Remember last week, or perhaps the week before, I reminded parents, if you see your children throwing toffee wrappers out the window as you drive past on the road, do you be okay with that, or do you stop and ask, Puta, what did you just do there? Remember? Did you do that? When it's meal time at home, do you remind your children that go and check if Tati has been served first? These are all values, ladies and gentlemen, that we were brought up with. Going back when I was a young child and when my parents, when they were young, these were the values that defined who we were, who we are. These are the values that define the Aryas, the Siha Hela. Because it was customary that it was the father who was the breadwinner of the family. But of course now, things have changed, times have changed, and it's acceptable that both parents are working. And if that's the case, then do you remind your children, have you checked if Ammi or Tati has been served yet, before you serve yourself and go and start eating? Parents, if you don't do that, perhaps it's time you start doing that. Do you make sure that your children worship you before they leave home? Do you make sure that they light a lamp, an oil lamp, at the Buddha statue and worship the Buddha before they leave home? These are all great values. These are all values that will guide you to Nibbana. Because without that, this is an uphill battle, ladies and gentlemen. It's an uphill struggle. It's not easy. Because before you start climbing uphill, you have to first throw the ropes. Fair enough, you have strength in your arms, you have strength in your legs, and strength in your body. But you still need the ropes onto which you need to hang on to, cling on to, like your life depends on it. And these values are going to be the ropes that are going to guide you. So you need them. They are absolutely essential. So make sure in your household there are certain values that you have established. And, for young parents here, I would suggest speak to your own parents. Speak to your grandparents. And they'll be more than happy to share with you some of the values that they used to practice in their household. I remember when I was a young child, we had an armchair at home. Hansi Puttu? Yes, the armchair. So we had an armchair at home. When the armchair was first brought to our home, I noticed that Appachi used to sit on the armchair, and one fine day when he was not at home, I decided I should go and sit on that, see how comfortable it is. Because I remember Appachi sitting on the armchair with his legs extended, because they have the foot rests and the arm rests and so on. So it's quite a comfortable chair for those of you who will have experienced sitting on an armchair. Have you sat on an armchair? Good. So you know what I'm talking about, right? Have you, Buddha? Okay. When you become an Appachi one day, you will do that. Hopefully you won't. So I used to sit on this armchair, and then one day Appachi came home after work, and I was watching TV, I was on the armchair, and it didn't feel like I didn't feel like I had to get up at that point in time. And I thought, so what? It's Appachi coming home, he's just come after work. And normally when Appachi walks past the living room, he would greet me. He would say, Puta, how's your day been? Have you done your work? Why are you still watching TV? Something, he would make some other comment, some comment or the other before, as he walks down to speak to Amma. But on this day, he didn't speak a word. He didn't say anything. And normally I see a smile on his face, but on this day I couldn't see that smile. Now, I started wondering what might the reason be. Now, my dad was a particular type where if he spotted something wrong with me, or something that was a fault with me, he wouldn't normally come and speak to me. Who would he go and speak to? My mother. Yes. Again, this is the way that we've been brought up. There was a certain way that things used to happen at home. So my Appachi went and spoke to Amma. And that evening, Amma came and sat down with me and she said, Putta, when Appachi came today, were you sat on the armchair? I said, yes, Amma. Did you get up when he walked in? I said, no, Amma. At that point, she had a choice. She could have said, it's okay. But that's not what she chose to do. She said, Putta, that's not okay. She sat me down and she started to talk to me about the values of a mother and a father. She spoke to me about why parents are a treasure to a child. She spoke to me about how we should respect our parents. She spoke to me about how much Appachi and Amma have done for me. And how, although I might feel that, food grows on trees, money grows on trees, pocket money grows on trees, all you have to do is go and look under the, look on the table and there would always be money. This is how I thought money would, they just came from somewhere. I didn't bother to think about where it came from. But my parents took the time because they decided it was not okay for me to be sitting down on the armchair with my arms and legs extended to see my Appachi walk past after he'd done a day's work of labor, for me to just sit down there and treat him like I would treat any other man. So these are all things that I would strongly encourage parents that you do in your households. And I'm sure there'll be most of you who already do such things. And that's really great of you. But I know that these sermons, we stream them online to lots of countries internationally. And it's a shame that a lot of the time when parents who decide to do the best that they can for their children emigrate, they leave behind their old clothes, their old baggage, their old friends, and their old values. It's such a shame that they do that. The clothes, so. There are cold countries and there are hot countries, and sometimes the clothes that they used to wear here don't really suit. But why the friends? Have you not had people like that? They emigrate and then after that, they don't know you. But when they were here, you were there for everything, through thick and thin. You were there for them. You were best buddies. But as soon as they went abroad, now they started making their own friends. Now, they begin to associate a new crowd. You became the old gold. Now they've found new gold. Make new friends, but keep the old ones. These were things that my parents taught me. Never forget the people that helped you get where you are today. What did the Buddha do for 7 weeks when he was under the Bodhi tree, after he first enlightened? I think I've spoken to you about this in the past. He reflected, ladies and gentlemen. Animisa lochana puja. Animisa lochana. Lochana is to look, to reflect. Misa is a nimesha, is a moment. Without leaving one moment, he looked back at his past. He looked back at all the people. There's a conventional sense as well, so I'm not discarding any of that. The conventional interpretation given is, the Buddha looking at the Bodhi tree, and then he spent a week reflecting or looking at the Bodhi tree, paying respect. That is, I don't disagree with that. I'm not discarding any of that. But I think the Bodhi tree represents more than just a tree. Because the Bodhi is what he attained. The Bodhi is what he was able to instill within himself. He became the Buddha. That is the bodhiya that he was able to attain. So now he's looking at the tree, that is a metaphorical sense. But in the literal sense, he's reflecting on all those people that he came past. All those beings that he came past in this infinitely long journey in samsara, who helped him in any way, shape or form. And he looks back to check, are they still alive? Are they in places, have they been born in blissful places such that I may be able to go and help them? What about my teachers, Alara Kalam and Uddakaramaputta? Where are they now? Can they be helped, or are they beyond help? So he looked back. This is where the Buddha started. Parents, where do you think you ought to start? So if you have this objective that both yourselves and your children, in this lifetime itself, you want to be guided and you want to guide your children to Nibbana, make sure that before they start climbing this rock, because it is a rock, it's a huge rock, and sometimes there are slippery places, sometimes there are thorny places, sharp edges that can cut you if you're not careful. So you need good, solid, strong ropes that will help you get there. And you also need a teacher. Until you've learnt and mastered the art, you'll need a teacher. So parents, make sure, and when I say parents, make sure you do this with your children. Well, don't forget that you are also children to parents. The best lessons are taught through example. Teach by example. So when you go visit your parents, when you take your children to visit their grandparents, make sure that you treat your parents. Make it an example to your children. Every once in a while, if you're abroad and listen to these sermons, every once in a while ring home. Speak to your grandparents and make sure your children get a chance to speak to them. Just because they're abroad, just because now they have forgotten their mother tongue, don't let that be an excuse. I remember when I was younger and my mother used to, whenever she rang Archie, she would say, Putta, come and speak to Archie for a few moments. I said, no, I don't want to speak to her. She's old. She doesn't have anything interesting to say. Why should I speak to her? I've got better things to do. And she said, no, that's wrong. She was not okay with that, ladies and gentlemen. She was not okay with that. She made me talk to my grandparents. She made me talk to them. She made me ask them, Archie, how are you? How are you doing? Are you well? Are you okay? She made me do that. And thanks to her, I learned the value of respecting parents. I learned the value of respecting my elders, my teachers. How many children today have forgotten the value of respecting their teachers? The very people that teach them how to live, how to get by in life, how to distinguish your friend from your foe. We've forgotten those values. I think much of this is probably for our foreign listeners, because I appreciate, I know the kind of lifestyle that I used to live when I was back in the UK, and I'm sure some of you will have similar experiences. Because it's very easy when you don't have the Satpurusha Sevane. Right? All of this comes through Satpurusha Sevane, and I'll explain that a little bit more. I'll show you why this is so important in a little bit. All of this comes through Satpurusha Sevane, the association of noble and moral people. Put noble people to aside. First we need to associate with moral people. That's how an immoral person becomes a moral person. And a moral person then goes on to become a noble person. You don't jump from being an immoral person to a moral person. There's one step between that. And that's becoming a moral person. So these morals, you don't find them under your pillows. You don't find in your drawers. These morals are with people. And the people that you get to associate the most are your parents. So, parents, this is why your children have to be taught these values and show these by example. So when I got to speak to my Achi, she would talk to me and she would say, Puta, I'm not feeling too well these days. I've got a backache. And every day I used to speak to her, she always used to complain about her backache. And I remember asking Amma, why does Archie always speak of a backache? You know, the backaches I get, I have it 1 day, 2 days, and then it's gone. Why does Archie always talk about a backache? And then she says, Puta, Archie's old now. Archie's old now. Then she reminded me, you know, you're going to be like that pretty soon. She didn't grow old doing nothing. Puta, she grew old bringing me up. She grew old bringing up your parents. She grew old bringing up your very parents who today look after you, who feed you, who protect you, who shelter you, who are there for you through thick and thin, through rain and shine. So all the things that you have received today, all the toys that you get to play with, all the education that you have, the friends you have, your bedroom, everything that you see there, the reason that we were able to give this to you was because of whom? Our parents. So do you not begin to see the connection now? Don't you think you should pay respect to your Achiam and Siya as well? Because otherwise, if you don't show these things, parents, your children are going to forget these. Because chances are when they go to school, hardly do they speak about these things nowadays. Because now it's just technology and computers and this ology and that ology. The ologies have taken over. All these sciences, they've taken over. I'm not particularly saying that's all bad and wrong, but what I'm saying is, don't forget your values. Because these are the values that made you the people who you are today. They are the values that made you who you are today. If you're proud about the fact that you respect your parents, you ought to be. But remember, it's those values that your parents instilled within you that brought you up in that way. Well, your parents, your children need that training. Your children need that refuge as well. So make sure you give them that. So I was speaking about Satpurusha Sevana. This is the association with moral people. Now, if you remember last week, have we opened all the windows? So I know it's a bit humid and it can become a little bit difficult to stay awake. Not because it's not your fault, it's just, no hetu, no pala. It's all cause and effect, right? When the concentration of oxygen starts to drop, then people, start to feel drowsy. So let's try and get some ventilation into this room as much as we possibly can. Are there any other windows that can be opened? Okay. Recently, one of our Anagarikas came up to me and asked me, Swami Mahansa, what can I do to maximize the effect of the merit that I do? So what can I do to maximize the effects of the meritorious deeds that I do. So as an example, he says, if I offer a dana, give alms to the Mahasangha, what can I do to maximize the return? Right? This is something that we are all interested in, right? Getting maximum return for our investments. In every sense of the word, right? When you invest time, money, right? Whatever the case might be, you want maximum return for your investment. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm glad that that's how you feel. Because what is it that you're investing every moment that you're awake? Do you have anything more precious than your human life? These seconds that are ticking away? Anything more precious than that? How much of your bank account are you not willing to offer if someone said, if you don't give me everything that you own, I'm going to take away your life in the next hour? About what amount are you not willing to offer that person? What's the top limit? I've got 50 million in my bank account, I'll give you 10. I'm not giving you a penny more than that. Take my life if you must. No, that would be foolish, right? So because we understand that the most precious, the most valuable thing that we all have is this human life. These seconds that are passing by. So these are seconds that you have invested by being here today. This is why whenever you're here, whenever we meet, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make sure that you get the most for your investment. Because I have a bigger responsibility than your banker. Because with your banker, you're giving away something that you can earn again. What are you giving me now? Something that you can earn again? No. What you're spending here cannot be earned again. What you're spending at the party cannot be earned again. What you're spending at your workplace, at the school, at the playground cannot be earned again. It's money spent, never to be earned again. So when you're spending something that you can't earn back again, well then I have a huge responsibility to make sure that the return that you get for it is well worth it. So this Anagarika son, he comes to me and asks me, Swami Nuhansa, can you tell me how do I maximize the return of my meritorious deeds, the investment that I make? And I said, what a wonderful question to ask. Because I said, as I started to reflect on this question, I realized that most of the time, people try to make changes not where it matters the most. For those of you who've been in the business world and who've done psychology and things like that, you will know that, you'll have heard of the Pareto principle, right? 20% results in 80% gain. It's the 20% that makes the biggest change. But people generally don't work on the 20%. They work on the other 80, expecting a huge change. When there's just 20% you need to work on to get you the 80% reward. So when he comes to me with this question, I began to ponder on this question because I wanted to give him an answer that he was going to be satisfied with, and an answer that was that would do justice to the question and the Dhamma as well. Then I began to realize, see, there are three factors that determine the value of the merit that you earn. Three factors. Number one is the meritorious deed itself. So there's dana, sila, bhavana, pattidana, pattanumodana, veyyavacha, apachayana, dittiju kamma. So these are the meritorious deeds. Which meritorious deed you do is one of the factors of this equation. So this equation goes something like A times B times C equals, say, X. And X is the value of the merit that you earn. So A product B product C equals X. A is the meritorious deed that you're about to be doing. So whether that's offering a dana, whether that's doing meditation, preaching the Dhamma, or perhaps worshipping your parents, sweeping the temple, all of these, or picking up litter, all of these are meritorious deeds. A meritorious deed is what? A deed that you do to relieve yourself from vexation we'll come to that later, to relieve yourself from vexation for the benefit of other beings. Where the deed that you do is for the benefit of other beings, then that is a meritorious deed. What is an unmeritorious deed? A deed that you do to relieve yourself from vexation, this is pelima, okay, to relieve yourself from vexation, but that which brings unwelcome, unwholesome results for others, other worldly beings, is an unmeritorious deed. I'll come back to it and I'll explain to you each word there and why I used those words particularly. But let's come back to this formula first. So X, A times B times C equals X. So A being the meritorious deed itself. A lot of people spend a lot of time there, picking the right meritorious deed to do. Do I give alms to the temple or do I give alms to an orphanage? Do I observe Sil today or do I take the dana into the temple? Do I worship my parents or do I worship the Buddha? A lot of people spend time thinking where they need to, which meritorious deed they ought to be doing. So they're really picky there. Then there's factor B. The value of the person who's the recipient of the meritorious deed that you're doing. So if you're offering a dana to the Mahasangha, then the value of so these are the values, the ingrained values I'm speaking of, the guna, okay, the qualities rather. These are the qualities of the recipient of this meritorious deed. This is why in the Dakkina Vibhanga Sutra, the analysis of dana, charity, the Lord Buddha speaks of how, depending on the recipient of the offering that you make, the merit that you earn is determined. So he says, if you offer a dana to a prutakjana, this is a mundane worldly person, the merit that you earn there is 100 times more than offering it to an animal. Then he goes on to say, if you offer alms to someone who's on the path to becoming a sotapanna, so a sotapannati marga, who's on a path to becoming a sotapanna, the merit that you earn is 100 times more. So this is one person, one sotapatti marga. Okay, one person who's on the path to becoming a sotapanna is equal to offering alms to 100 people who are prutakjanas, who are mundane worldly people. So think about it. Throwing a party at home or taking alms to the temple. Now you can decide. Now, of course, people who visit you at home, they could be sotapannas. Why don't sotapannas go to parties? Don't they? Of course they can do. If they want to, they can do. There's you can't, there's no hard and fast rule. There are no sotapannas don't go to parties. No, that you can't say that. What about sakurdagamis? Don't they go to parties? They can do, yes. If they want, if they choose to, of course they can do. What's wrong with going to a party? Well, they might not choose to dance at the party. But, if they have been invited, then chances are that, if they're a close friend, then chances are they'll do. What about an anagami? If you throw a party, will an anagami attend your party? What do you think? Might do. Yes, he might do. Again, he's not going to be dancing at the party. He probably won't be singing at the party. But he'll probably come there, take a seat and, wait for food to be served. He'll have a chat, a conversation. However, if there's a clash, for instance, there's a party and there's a clash whereby there's a sermon at the same time somewhere else. At that time, chances are he's going to pick the sermon than attend the party. But if there are no other engagements, or if he's not particularly, if he's not got any particular issue about, the purpose of the party or who's throwing the party and so on and so forth, there's no problem with an anagami turning up to a party. What about an arahatun wahanse? Does an arahatun wahanse turn up to a party? No, an Arahatun Wahanse doesn't turn up to a party. He doesn't turn up to a party. If you're offering him food, then he'll turn up and accept the food that you're offering him, but he's not turning up to a party. You know, when you're throwing a party, you have this idea that it's going to be a fun place where everyone's going to be talking to each other, chit-chat, you know, a bit of a chin-wag with each other, catching up on all the dues, right, what's happened in, you know, everywhere, this, that, and the other, right? So he's not going to want to turn up to a place like that, because all of that is just, one, a waste of time, and two, it's not, you know, it does not give him any kind of satisfaction to turn up to a place like that. So an Arahatun Wahanse is not going to turn up to a party. But all the others, there's a chance that they could turn up to a party. Okay? Now, so we were talking about the Dakkina Vibhanga Sutra. And the Buddha says, if you offer a dana to an anagami person, so he goes up that way, if you offer a dana to an anagami person, that is equivalent, the merit that you earn through doing that is equivalent to offering a dana to 100 people who are on the path to becoming an anagami. So he continues on that, along that path, and he then says, offering a dana to a Pacceka Buddha is 100 times meritorious than offering the dana to someone who is an Arahat. And offering a dana to a Samma Sambuddha is 100 times more meritorious than offering a dana to a Pacceka Buddha. Then he goes on to talk about doing Arya Maitri and so on and so forth, but I'll leave that for another day. You know, he speaks about how you can earn merit from offering a dana. Okay? So again, what I'm speaking about is the second factor in this equation, A product B, A times B. So this is the B. Investigating or checking what values, what qualities does the person who's the recipient of this meritorious deed have. Now, this is a really tricky thing to do though. How can you tell if someone is a Sotapanna? You don't know. How can you tell if someone is an Arahatun Wahanse? You don't know. There are people who've actually walked past the Buddha and asked him, who are you? People walked past the Buddha and asked him, who are you? So they've not even known the Buddha. Because how do you see the Buddha? Through the Dhamma. One who hasn't seen the Dhamma does not see the Buddha. So you can't see a Buddha or an Arahatun Wahanse or an Anagami person or a Sakurdagami person. You can't check the value or the qualities of someone by observing them through your physical eyes. That's not possible. But don't a lot of people try to do that? When they offer dana, don't they pick a temple and they say, you know, the monks in that monastery, they're a lot more virtuous than the monks in our local temple. So let's take the dana there. I know a lot of people who do that. But just because a monk lives in a monastery, all of a sudden they are so virtuous. Just because they wear a red-colored robe, they are more virtuous than someone who wears a saffron robe. Says who? Who gave you the authority to decide that? Only a Supreme Buddha can be a judge of character. Remember that. Only a Supreme Buddha can be a judge of character. Because what quality do you need to be able to judge someone's character? There's a particular knowledge. It's called Asya Vakya Jnana. Or actually Indriya Paro Pariyata Jnana. Asya Anusaya Jnana. Asya Anusaya Jnana and Indriya Paro Pariyata Jnana. Asya Anusaya Jnana, I don't know the English term for this, but this particular knowledge is only instilled on a Supreme Buddha as well as the Indriya Paro Pariyata Jnana. I don't know the English terms for these two. I'll find out and I'll let you know perhaps next week. Maybe Dasahamdru can help me with that. My young assistant. But what these qualities enable a Supreme Buddha to do is to check somebody's character and see how much defilements are left within them. Astrava, these are the cankers. How good are they? What good qualities do they possess? What bad qualities do they possess? Indriya paro pariyatta jnane. They're able to check the faculties of this person. What are the indriyas? Chanda, Chitta, Virya, Vimansa. Satara indriya. So they're able to check the indriya. These are the faculties. I'm not talking about the eye, nose, tongue and so forth. That even you can check, right? These are not the faculties that I'm speaking about. But a Supreme Buddha is able to analyze a person and make a judgment about their character. But no one else is able to do that. But isn't that what we do all the time? Judge other people? Oh, it's so easy to do, isn't it? So easy to do. You know, I've heard this. I remember when I learned customer service. Someone said a customer makes up their mind in the first 10 seconds they meet a person. So make sure that first 10 seconds you'll give a lasting good impression. Why? Because as soon as you walk into the shop or to the establishment, the first 10 seconds they spend speaking to you, they've already done what? Judged you. We are so eager to judge other people. But it's not something that we can do. This is the problem. And remember also last week I said, you know, what do we use to judge other people? What is the measuring, what is the yardstick that we use? Or rather, who? Exactly. Yourself. So when you say, oh, she's fair, compared to whom? You. When you say, he's a good person, compared to whom? You. He's a bad person, compared to whom? You. So are you perfect? So how can you judge somebody then? So this is why, if what you're trying to do is change B, which is that second variable in our equation, or check and gauge the value of the person, the recipient of this meritorious deed, then what you're trying to do is something that's really difficult. So A was what? The meritorious deed itself. B is what? The quality or the qualities of the person or the qualities of the recipient. So what's C then? Any guesses? Beg your pardon, sir? Another word? Express that in a slightly different way, using what I've explained. It's related to B. Whose qualities? Absolutely. Your qualities. The values that you hold within yourself. What kind of a person are you? What did the Buddha say? Chetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami. Volition is what? Karma. Volition, I say, is karma. So in A, B and C, where does volition come? Which bit does volition take place? It's the C. Of course, A helps you determine what meritorious deed you're going to do, but even a meritorious deed, do it through ill volition. You could give someone you can do an alms giving, right? And in your mind you're thinking, these wretched monks, why should they turn up at my door? There are so many houses on this street. Did I not tell you one of our monks experienced that? You know Venerable Vasagadhamma Thero? So when he, myself and one of the other monks, I think you were with us as well, yes. We went once to a temple, and when we used to deliver sermons by traveling and so forth. We got to spend a few days in a particular village. And what Vasagadhamma Swami once and I decided to do is, I said, I'll go left, you go right. And then we'll go on Pindapata. Alms. So this is begging, right? With the alms bowl. And it was really, it was an incredible experience, because the experience I got was the complete opposite of what Vasagadhamma Thero got. I think I shared my story with you, if I remember vaguely. When I went past the first gate, or the first door I went past was a school. So this was a primary school, and I thought, do I stay here or do I move on? Because everyone was doing their morning assembly. But then I decided, let's stay and see what happens. I mean, of course, they can choose to ignore me if they want to, right? So I stood by the gate, and then the headmaster of the school, she spotted me. The headmistress, she spotted me, and then she, in the middle of the assembly, she said, right, everyone stop. There's a Swamin Wahanse at the gate. Go and bring any food that you might have brought from home. So she says this to the children. These are all primary school children. Anyone who wishes to give some part of your food to the Swamin Wahanse, go and bring your food. And the teachers as well as the children. I think there were about 100 little children there. All of them, they came running with their tiffin boxes. Bless them. So I was stood outside the gate, and they all came one after the other, their little sandwiches, with their little portions of rice, whatever, they could, their parents sent them to fill their little stomachs, right? Whatever food they had, they offered it to the Swamin Wahanse. I was stood there with my arms bowed. And then they worshipped me, and then the teachers did the same, and the headmistress did the same. And then by the end of that, my arms bowl was full. I didn't have to go anywhere after that. And then they all went back into the school, and then I wished them well, and I continued. And then actually there was another lady I spotted before I decided, I think there was a little bit more food I could accept into my alms bowl. Now, I'm not going to consume all this food. The reason I go on alms is not because there's no food in the temple. The reason I go on because there are others who bring food to the temple as well. There are people who've put down their names against the diary. We've promised to bring alms and so on. But the reason we go on alms begging for food is to give people the opportunity to take part in giving alms. This is the example that our forefathers, Mahakashava Maharatan Wahanse, gave me. He went looking for people who were in need of merit. Remember how we went to the leper and helped him be born in the Deva world? Remember that story, right? So similarly, this is why we go on alms. So the second person I met was a lady. She and her mother, they were running to catch a bus, and I saw the bus coming from afar. So they were running to catch the bus, and having seen me, they worshipped me, not having kneeled because it was the road, but they worshipped me by bending, kind of half bend, and then she kept running to catch the bus. But a few yards later, she thought, no, this is a chance I'm never going to get again. She came back. She came back again, opened up her handbag. She took out the lunch packet that she had packed for herself, and then she gifted it into my alms bowl. That was a great experience for me. And I'm saying sadhu, sadhu, sadhu in my mind. When I was witnessing how much these people, they are keen to do merits, and how much when they see the Mahasangha, how they feel about that. When they see the robe, because in their minds it was Sariputta Moggallana Mahakashapa Maharatan Wahanse. Perhaps they might never have seen a monk go on Pindapata before that. So that was my experience. So I was only too keen to come back to the temple to share my experience with the other monks. So I waited to receive Venerable Vossagadhamma Thero at the temple, because I turned up. It only took me I think half an hour, and I was back at the temple, because my alms bowl only took 2 servings. Then I was waiting for Vossagadhamma Thero, and I think he took a good while to turn up. At least a couple of hours went by, and I was getting worried that it was going to be past 12 now. And then we thought, let's get on a vehicle and go and perhaps collect him from wherever he might be. And then just as we thought that, we saw him approaching from afar. Then he came to the temple, and he wasn't flustered, but I noticed from his face that he'd experienced something that he wasn't expecting. So I asked him, how did it go? How was your arms round? And he said, Swamin Wahanse, I experienced something that all the money in the world could not have brought me. I asked him, what happened? He said, as I took my alms bowl and went past the first home, there was an old lady inside the house I could see because she had her window opened. So I thought I should do her good because I remembered Kashyapa Maharahatan Wahanse and how he went looking for people who needed help. So I approached this lady who was by her window on the inside of inside the house. So I approached the window, and as I was approaching her, she spotted me. And when she spotted me, she started shouting. I'll say out these words in Sinhala so you can really get the gist of the feelings that she must have had at that time. Menna tatte gaapu. හාමුදුරුව කෙනෙක් එනවා. මේකට නම් මුකුත් දෙන්න එපා. ඔක්කොම ගෙවල් ඇතුළට ගිහිල්ලා දෝරවල් වහගන්න. තට්ටේ ගාපු හාමුදුරුව කෙනෙක් එනවා. කවුරුත් දාන දෙන්න එපා. ගෙවල් ඇතුළට ගිහිල්ලා දොරවල් වහගන්න. So in English, here's a bald-headed monk approaching. No one offer him alms. Everyone get inside and shut the door. So she's shouting this out and loud so that other people in the vicinity was able to hear this. So she wanted not just herself. It was not only her who didn't want to offer alms, but she wanted to make sure that no one else was going to do that as well. And so obviously this was not something that the Swamin Wahanse was expecting. He turned around and he continued walking. So people who heard this, some of them were quite shocked. Others thought, why is this lady like this? And others, despite the shouts and the warnings, they came and offered alms. But for that he had to go quite a distance. The best part of the story was when he came back, he said to me, Swamin Wahanse, when that lady shouted at me, I didn't feel a modicum of anger in my heart. I didn't feel just even the tiny bit of frustration, resentment, anger or hatred towards that lady. All I could think was, oh, what a poor soul you are. Oh, what a pity. When you have this great opportunity, I have come to your door to make use of this opportunity. You have kicked me. What a great loss for you. And he felt sympathy towards her. And then he continued on his way. And he said, this is how my great forefathers would have done back in the day. So it's not right of me to behave in any other way. And I said, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So the reason I shared that story with you, ladies and gentlemen, is because most of the time where people try to change or what people try to influence is the B. That's that factor, the value, the quality of the person who's the recipient of the meritorious deed that you do. Think about it. If someone comes and knocks, a poor beggar you see on the road, don't you try to judge his character before you give something? Are we not too eager to judge other people's character? Because when you do so, the thing is, here's an opportunity for you to do merit. Here's an opportunity for you to do merit. What that person uses that money or whatever you've given them, what they use it for is up to them. If they use it wrongly, if they use it, if they misappropriate it, then who's going to suffer for that? They are going to suffer for that. But the fact that you have given it with good thoughts, good volition, with wholesome feelings, the merit that you acquire is immense. It's huge. So this is why I say, and also I think Guru Swamin Wahanse always reminds you, when you visit the monastery, when you go to the temple, do you find yourselves rolling on the floor when you worship the Loku Swamin Wahanse and then just, kind of doing a, hey, see you later kind of wave goodbye to the Podi Swamin Wahanses? Or do you worship them the same way? Are you judging their character, and depending on their character you're trying to determine how you should worship them? Because then in your hearts and in your minds you're worshipping the person that's in the robe, not Sariputta Maharatan Wahanse. So you see, to be able to see Sariputta Maharatan Wahanse, you see a robe, which factor do you think needs to change? Is it A, B or C? To be able to see Sariputta Maharatan Wahanse, whoever it is that's behind the robe, A, B or C? It's C, not the B. Did you understand what I'm saying? It's a subtle point. To be able to see Sariputta Maharatan Wahanse, Kashyapa Maharatan Wahanse, Moggallana Maharatan Wahanse, in whoever is clad in a robe, to be able to see that person, what needs to change is not the outside person. It's how you see them. So if it's how you see them, then the factor that needs to change here is not A, which is the meritorious deed. It's not B, that's the value or the quality of the person that you're venerating. It's C, the qualities and the values that you hold. This is the 20% that gives you the 80%. This is the 20%, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give it to you in a simile. Imagine there are two logs that you want to stand upright. Okay? Or two, let's say, planks of wood that you want to stand upright. So, something like this. Can you see what I'm doing here? Okay? This is what you want to do with them. Now, imagine that one of these planks is quite long, the other is only half the length. If the value of, or rather, if the height that you want to, if what you're trying to do is lean them on each other, so you can get them to the highest height, or you can get them as high as you possibly can. Now think about what factors do you need to decide? What are the determining factors that help you to bring these two planks as high as you possibly can? Let me explain that to you again. There are two planks of wood. What you're trying to do is lean them against each other and then stand them upright so that they are high upright as they possibly can be. Okay? So obviously they are resting on the ground, but one end is facing towards the sky. Okay? So now you have two planks. You can't stand one up on its own. You need the help of the other. So you have the two of them, one supporting the other. So they're mutually supporting each other. Right? Now, if one is this long and the other is only half the length, does that not have, does the fact that this one is only half the length not influence the height that you can achieve by leaning one against the other? Because if one is only half the height, then it's going to be something like this. You can't do that. So for those of you who are online, they're wondering what am I talking about? You can't do this, you can only do that. I'll explain to you what I'm using my hand gestures to show something here. So you have two planks that are leaned against each other, two ends on the ground, the other two ends touching each other. If one plank is only half the length of the other, then you can only stand it half the length of the first plank. One plank, the height of one plank is going to be the It's going to be half the length of the other plank, right? Now, if what you're trying to do is to get these two planks, the resultant, it doesn't matter which plank is more upright, because what you're trying to do is to get the resultant height as high as you possibly can. One way you could aim higher is by extending the length of the longer plank. Now remember, the one plank is, so this is what you've done right now. You can extend the length of the longer plank. But for those of you who studied Pythagoras' theorem, to get this to achieve a particular height, you're going to have to extend this quite a bit. You're going to have to extend this by quite a bit, because this is the hypotenuse. You're going to have to extend this by quite a bit in order to get the resultant height that you're trying to achieve, to get that to be as high as you possibly can. The other way you could do this is to extend what? The shorter plank. If you extend the shorter plank, then you don't have to change the longer plank. Extend the shorter plank. As you extend the longer plank, what you're doing now is moving that further up, and then the resultant height is going to be greater than before. What you've done here is change the height of the shorter plank and not even touch the longer plank. Now, what's the longer plank and the shorter plank here in our simile? The longer plank is what? The qualities of the recipient. And the shorter plank is the quality of who? The donor, or yourself, who's doing the doer of the deed. If you extend the length of the shorter plank, you don't have to even do anything with the longer plank. So you see, all you have to do is instill value within yourself. I'll give you a really simple example. One guy goes to the temple to offer alms on the first day of the month. First day of the month, he does not worship his parents. He doesn't believe in worshipping parents. He goes and offers alms at the temple. Does he not acquire merit? Of course he acquires merit. Why? A, offering alms is a meritorious deed. B, you're offering alms to virtuous monks and bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, upasaka, upasikas, right? So that's all good. And C, there is a certain quality, there are certain values that this person has, and therefore A times B times C equals the total of the merit that you have acquired. Now, the next day he decides, you know what, I want to acquire more merit by doing the same meritorious deed. What's the easiest thing to do? Day one, he doesn't worship his parents, he doesn't believe in worshipping parents. If all he did on the second day is start worshipping his parents, now he goes to the temple, starts off doing exactly the same dana, the same alms giving, exactly the same food, to the same number of monks, to exactly the same monks. Which factor has he changed here? C, which is the value of the person that's doing the deed. What happens to the resultant value, that is the total merit that he has acquired? Goes up. So you see, isn't that the 20% that gives you the 80%? Isn't that the bit that you can influence the most? Can you decide how many monks will be at the temple if you come here to the monastery to offer alms? You can't decide that, because you don't know what engagements we might have, whether we might have to travel somewhere, so on and so forth. If you want to offer more food, then perhaps you'll have to spend more money. If you don't have more money, then if you only have the same money, then you can only offer the same dana. But what you can do is become a person who has more value, greater qualities. And simply by doing that, you have increased the value of the meritorious deed. That's the 20% that brings you the 80%. Now that's really something to think about. Now think about all the meritorious deeds that you do already. There may be some of you who offer alms. There will be others who perhaps give rations to those who are subject to natural calamities like the tsunamis and other disasters and so on. Right? They're all meritorious deeds. There may be some of you who go and observe Sil at the temple every Poya day. There are all meritorious. All of these are meritorious deeds. Offering flowers to the Buddha, again meritorious deeds. Now, if you've understood that theorem, let me ask you this question. As you'll know, an Arahatun Vahanse does not do merit or unmerit. They don't do good deeds and bad deeds. Right? Because they don't acquire merit by doing that. Punya papa pahinassa. How can one earn the most amount of merit by offering a dana? Now you know the equation. A times B times C. A is fixed because this is offering a dana. Now you can decide B and C. And we are aiming for the most amount of merit that we can try to acquire. What is B according to the Dakkina Vibhanga Sutra? The Mahasangha. The Mahasangha, which includes all the Sangha from the past, the present and the future, which includes all the Buddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas, the Arahatta Buddhas, right? All the members of the Mahasangha to ever have set foot on this earth, who are present here today and who are due to enter the Mahasangha in the future. All three time periods are included in the Mahasangha. Now what about C? Can an Arahatun Vahanse offer a dana and attain and achieve merit by doing that? No. So who's the next person down? Anagami. So the most merit that can be achieved by offering a dana is when what happens? When an Anagami person offers a dana to the Mahasangha. Are we talking about individually the merit that you acquire? Because once you become an Arahatun Vahanse, you don't earn merit from that point forward. But up until the point you become an Anagami person, now you are acquiring merit with all the meritorious deeds that you do. So, let me ask you a different question then. Here's what I'm proposing to you, and I know you offer dana to the temple, I know you do meritorious deeds. Wouldn't you like to increase the merit that you acquire by not changing one bit about the dana? You don't have to go change the date. You don't have to go for different types of food. You don't have to pick a different temple. Nothing like that. Wouldn't you like to gain more merit, better return from your investment? Wouldn't you like to do that? So you can tell me then, how can you do that? How is it you can do that? If you are still a mundane, worldly person who's a Pruthakjana, how can you earn more merit? By becoming a Sotapanna. If you are a Sotapanna, to earn more merit by offering exactly the same dana, what can you do about that? Become a Sakurdagami. And then to earn more merit than that, become an Anagami. That's the highest you can go. Beyond that, you can do meritorious deeds, but you're not going to earn merit. Why? Because you don't need merit. You don't need to be earning merit from that point forward. Because from that point forward, it's all vipaka. It's all results. Because doing merit is a karma. This is a deed. A deed acquires merit or unmerit. There are wholesome deeds and unwholesome deeds. Punya karma and papa karma. Now, you might wonder, remember at the start of the sermon I was speaking about association with moral people, Satpurusha Sevana, and why it's so important to do that. This is why I said parents be moral people, give that moral association to your children, right? Give that Satpurusha Sevana. Now you might wonder, what's the connection here? Meritorious deeds and moral people and attaining Nibbana, where's the connection? What I'd like to propose to you, ladies and gentlemen, attaining Nibbana and cultivating values and qualities within yourself are not two different things. They are one and the same. Attaining Nibbana, becoming an Arahatun Vahanse, and cultivating qualities, cultivating great qualities, good qualities within yourself, the path to doing that is not, they're not two different things, they are one and the same. Let me give you an example. Do you understand, do you accept, do you acknowledge that an Arahatun Wahanse is born where great qualities come together? When great qualities come together, they culminate. At that point, an Arahatun Wahanse is born. Because, I mean, how does a robber become an Arahatun Wahanse? How does a murderer become an Arahatun Wahanse? How does a womanizer become an Arahatun Wahanse? It's the same person. But what's changed? The qualities. They have discarded, rejected bad qualities and instilled within them good qualities. So it's the discarding, the shedding out of the bad qualities and acquiring and instilling and cultivating the good qualities that transforms who? Angulimala into Angulimala Maharahatan Wahanse. That's how a murderer became a Maharahatan Wahanse. What happened? Shedding away bad qualities and instilling and cultivating good qualities. Because when, I mean, you know, we've spoken about the Suvisi Guna. You know, when you worship the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, you recite the qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, right? Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipanno Bhagavato and so on, right? So these are qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. The qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha are what takes one from a mundane worldly person to become an Arahatun Wahanse. These are the qualities that one must instill within them to become an Arahatun Wahanse. Once, because, you see, do you think that the Buddha would have ever come into this world and preached or given us a stanza, a gatha, and said, you know, these are my qualities. Now why don't you all start reciting my qualities and start worshipping me? Go on. Do you think a Buddha would have done that? When there are many millions and trillions of devas, brahmas, who are waiting for the opportunity to come and worship him and venerate him and attend to him, what need do you think a Buddha might have had to come up with a stanza? Let me think. People, you know, I think they ought to worship me. Let me come up with a gatha for that. What are my qualities? Itipi so bhaga. That's a good one. Everyone come here, sit down. Right, I'm going to teach you this gatha. Now recite, learn it, and now start worshipping me. Go on. Do you think a Buddha would have done that? Because the Buddha comes into this world, ladies and gentlemen, to give us this practical path to attaining Nibbana. For nothing else. So when the Buddha preaches about the qualities of the Buddha, the qualities of the Dhamma, the qualities of the Sangha, this is a prescription. A prescription for someone who is ailed. A prescription for someone who is ailed with raga, dvesha and moha, desire, aversion and delusion. This is a prescription that treats desire, aversion and delusion. For someone who is a mundane, worldly person, they start the journey by instilling the qualities of the Mahasangha within them. Once they've concluded at the so this goes from Supatipanna to all the way to Anuttaram Punya Kettang Lokasati. This is the gatha, right? You will have recited that many times over by now. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, Jupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, Nyaya Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, Samiji Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, Ahuneyo Pahuneyo, Dakkineyo, Anjali Karaneyo, Anuttaram Punya Kettang Lokasati. So these are the 9 qualities of the Mahasangha, of the Sangharatna. This is one of the triple gems. Okay? So it starts at Supatipanna and ends at Anuttaram Punya Kettang. This is a prescription This is a prescription of the qualities that we, you and I, must strive to instill within ourselves in order that we can transform ourselves to become an Arahatun Wahanse. Now the nature of this prescription is that you start at the end and you work your way up. You start at Anuttaram Punyaketta. You work your way all the way up to Supatipanna. Then you start working your way through Pacchatang Veditabbo Vinyohi, which is the final quality of the Dhammaratna. And you work your way up to Swakkato Bhagavata Dhammo. And then finally you work your way up the ladder, instilling the qualities of the Buddha. I'm not talking about the Supreme Buddha. The qualities that bring into this world a Buddha. Now this might be a little bit heavy. So try to pay attention and see what it is I'm trying to explain to you here. What I'm trying to explain to you here, ladies and gentlemen, is that the gathas that we recite day and night to worship the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha are not gathas that were given to us by the Buddha to just keep reciting. This is a prescription. It's a prescription that he's given us. And by prescription what I mean is these are qualities that he said instill within yourselves such that you can transform yourself from a mundane worldly person first to a Sotapanna, then to a Sakurdagami, Anagami, and finally to an Arahatun Wahanse. By the time you've instilled the qualities of the Sangharatne within you, you have become a Sotapanna. What does Supatipanna mean? What is Su? Nibbana. Sugata. Sugata. So Supatipanna, Su is Nibbana. Su is another is a term that gives meaning of Nibbana. Supatipanna. Patipanna is Pilipan, who has entered the path to Nibbana. Entering the path to Nibbana is who? A stream enterer. What is the path to Nibbana? The noble eightfold path. So one who has entered the noble eightfold path is a Sotapanna. One who has entered the noble eightfold path has instilled within them by that point all the 9 qualities of the Sangharatna. The triple gem, one of the triple gems, one of the gems that is the Sangha. It starts at Anuttaram Punya Kettang and works its way up all the way to Supatipanna. Now, what I'll do is in future sermons, I'll take each of these qualities and I'll explain them to you in detail so that you can start to instill these values within you. Because this is why I say the birth of an Arahatun Wahanse is nothing other than the culmination of all the great qualities of an Arahatun Wahanse. That is all it is. Nothing else. How did the Bodhisattva become a Buddha? Was that a magic? When he perfected the Dasaparami, Upaparami and the Dasaparamatta Parami, what did he do? Aren't these good qualities? Aren't they great qualities? Dana Paramita, Sila Paramita, Kanti Paramita, Upeksha Paramita, Metta Paramita. These are all qualities. So once you have perfected these qualities, then you become a Buddha. And the path to becoming a Buddha is what the Buddha gives us when he speaks of the 24 qualities of the triple gem. So each one of these qualities I'll begin to detail to you so you can start to instill these values within yourself. I'll explain to you one in brief today just so you can get the gist of this. Anuttaram Punya Kettan. This is the last one, number 24, because this is where you start. It's like a flight of steps. Step number 24 is where you're going to start climbing up this flight of steps or this deck of stairs. Number 1 is right at the top. Number 24 is Anuttaram Punya Kettam. Anuttara Pinketa. Now, there are conventional meanings to a lot of these, none of which I'm discarding. They are meaningful, so we continue to take those meanings as well. But remember, these qualities were not given to us to just put our fingers together and put our hands together and just keep worshipping, venerating the Mahasangha. Because what is the point of worshipping someone if you can't take the values and the qualities of that person possesses? Really think about it. You know, when we walk into this room, after the sermon, you'll only be too keen to come and start worshipping me. And when I say me, I'm not talking about the person that's inside the robe, okay? Because I completely understand that. So I'm not delusion that you're worshipping the person that's inside this robe, who has clad this robe. You're worshipping the person that's in your mind, and that is the most venerable, Sariputta Moggallana Mahakashapa Maharatan. But what is the point of worshipping them if it's just a mark of respect? What can you gain by making a mark of respect? How do you become a different person? Is the Buddha Shasana to mark respect? Or for our liberation? It's for our liberation. This is what the Buddha comes into this world for. It's not to create a Shasana, a dispensation. It's not to give the idol of the Buddha, the statue of the Buddha. These are not his gifts. His gift is not the statue. His gift is not the Dhamma and the Sangha for people to just keep marking their respect, to keep showing respect. He gives these triple gems so that people can begin to understand, analyze these qualities and begin to cultivate and instill those qualities within themselves. So Anuttaram Punya Kettang is one of those qualities. Before someone enters this quality, before someone begins to instill this quality within themselves, they are a worldly mundane person, a Pruthakjana. And a worldly mundane person does not have the association of the Dhamma. They don't know good from bad. They don't know good from evil. They just live a mundane life, enjoying sensuality, indulging in sensuality, and then reaping the rewards of the seeds that they continue to sow in every birth that they continue. But the Buddha's Shasana, the Buddha's ministry is not for that. The Buddha's ministry is to liberate ourselves from samsara. So what we need to understand is, how does Anuttaram Punya Kettang, that quality, instilling that quality within me, how does that help me liberate myself from samsara? How does that take me towards vimoksha, vimuktiya, Nibbana? That is a question we need to ask ourselves. And here I'll bring to you the example of a farmer. A farmer who has decided to start cultivating crops first needs to find some land, and this land has to be suitable for his cultivation. So chances are he's going to go looking for some land. And he's going to go looking for land that has not been cultivated before. So chances are he's going to find some land that is not barren, because barren land cannot be cultivated on. He's going to find some land which has some vegetation, but this is all wild trees and other crops which have to be removed, and the soil then fertilized, and then he has to do his cultivation there. So that's how the farmer is going to approach this. So as the farmer enters this land and he picks a good spot to start to cultivate, he realizes that he is now in the thick of the jungle. He's in the thick of the jungle and he's about to pick a plot of land so that he can start his cultivation. Because it's the thick of the jungle, he's going to find all types of animals in there. There are going to be tigers and snakes and bears, wolves, all sorts of dangerous animals, elephants. These are animals with whom he's not going to be able to cultivate his land. So first of all, he's going to have to chase them away. Before he starts clearing the land, he's going to have to chase these animals away. So this is his number one objective. I've seen a bit of land, I think this is suitable for me to start my cultivation, but I can see that I'm in the thick of the jungle, and there are animals, there are wild animals, and these wild animals have now got to be chased away before I start my venture. So what he does is he starts to chase these animals away. He chases the elephants away. He chases the beasts away, the wild beasts, the tigers and the lions and the bears and the snakes. He starts chasing them away. Now that's a simile. Or rather a metaphor. Where's the relation to us here? What is the land on which we are trying to cultivate these qualities? Our mind. Absolutely. It's our mind. Our mind is the mind. This is the mind that we are trying to cultivate. And we are the farmer. Now, there's no point in trying to cultivate a barren land. This is why you have to be a trihetuka pratisandilabhi. Because, we've spoken about the hetu and pratya. How hetu and pratya are complementary. It's like the lock and the key. Having the key is no good if the lock doesn't suit. You can't unlock the lock if you don't have the suitable key that fits. Right? So you need both. Just having one is not good enough. So likewise, although you have good seeds that you're ready to sow, you have to be able to sow it on good land that has potential to bear fruit, that has potential to be cultivated. You can't sow, or you can sow, but you're not going to be able to reap anything worthwhile by sowing on barren land. So this is why suitable land is a mind that has been born. This is a person who has been born with the trihetuka pratisandhi. Alobha, adosa, amoha. Now, I can't tell if you are a dvihetuka pratisandilabhi or a trihetuka pratisandilabhi. I can't tell that. Chances are you can't tell that either. The Buddha can say for sure whether you are a dvihetuka pratisandilabhi or a trihetuka pratisandilabhi. So just briefly, what's the difference? A dvihetuka pratisandilabhi is where you have been born as a result of a karma that you've done. It's a good karma, that's why you've been born human. You can't be born human by having, if it was a bad karma, if it was an unmeritorious deed that you were reminded of in your chutisita, in your last birth, you won't have been born a human in this birth. So the fact that you've been born human, which is one of the blissful worlds, is because it was a good karma that you were reminded of in your chutisita. Okay, but that good karma was based in either alobha and adosa. So it was only based in alobha and adosa, not amoha. So there were two factors, alobha and adosa, but no amoha. What is amoha? Non-delusion. What is adesha? Non-desire. Non-aversion. And alobha? Non-desire. Well, actually non-craving. Okay, because I prefer to use the word raga for desire and craving for lobha. Okay? There's a difference. We'll speak about that later, some other day. So if the deed that you did, the meritorious deed that you did, and this is why we encourage you to do meritorious deeds by basing them on all three roots, alobha, adosa and amoha. Alobha and adosa are easy, but amoha is the difficult one. And to be doing a meritorious deed in amoha, you absolutely must have association of moral or noble people. Because initially, you must transform from someone who is wrong viewed, who holds wrong view, dasavastuka mithya drishti, to someone who holds right view, dasavastuka sammaditthi. Someone who believes that there is no mother, father, they're not special people, they're just two other, it's just another man and a woman. There are people who think like that. Then there are people who don't believe in deeds and results. Karma vipaka, what's that? Just rubbish, nonsense. It's just all of this is just coincidence. Then there are others who believe that there are no beings who are born spontaneously, opapatika. There are others who don't believe in devas and spirits and demons, right? Who are all beings who have been born spontaneously. Okay, there are people who don't believe in the birth of Samma Sambuddhas. Right now, all of that is rubbish. What's that? It's just if you can see, if you can hear, that's all you have to accept as being true. I was someone like that. Remember, I've shared that with you in the past. I used to be someone like that. Show me if it's there. Let me hear it if it's there. If I can't see it, if I can't hear it, I ain't gonna believe it. That's where I used to be. So I used to be a dasa vastuka mithya dushtikaya. Although that changed thanks to association with moral and noble people. So someone who doesn't believe in giving charity might still do the deed, but in their minds what they're thinking is, well, there's no point in doing this, but I'm giving charity because they're hungry, so I'll just give them some food so they can sate their hunger. There's no good results that are going to come out of this. They don't believe in any of that. So that is a deed that is based in moha, not based in amoha, but still based in alobha and advesha. Okay, so these are deeds that are based on two roots, and therefore the birth that comes out of that as a result is dvihetuka pratisandhi. Dvi is two, hetu is the causes, and because it's based on two causes, two roots, it's called the dvihetuka pratisandhi. Then there are those who do deeds that are based on three roots: alobha, adosa, amoha. Now you can be born a human either as a result of one deed, one cause, two causes, or three causes. Ahetuka. Now it's called ahetuka. If you've been only born as a result through a result of one cause, that is through alobha or adosa. Either alobha or adosa. That's not called ekahetu. That's called ahetuka. Reason it's called ahetuka and not ekahetuka is because an ahetuka person cannot understand the Dhamma. They can make no use of the Dhamma. They will not even begin to understand. They will not even come to worldly right view, which is laukika sammaditya. They are not able to come to that. Because these are people, and you may have seen them in society, people who are mentally handicapped. Who don't have a sense of intelligence that is consummate with their age. Their development is very slow. Right? You'll have seen people like that. And, we're not discrediting any of them. I'm just saying that is fact. So they have been born as a result. They're still human. They're still human because they've been born as a result of a good deed, a meritorious deed. So they might have given a dana. They must have offered flowers to the Buddha. Whatever the case might have been. Well, potentially not the Buddha, because to offer flowers to a Buddha, you need to understand who a Buddha is first of all. Okay? So there's beings who are born with one hetu, which is either non-delusion, non-aversion or non-craving, but they are called ahetukayo. Then there are the duhetukayo, who have been born as a result of non-craving and non-aversion. Then there are the trihetuka, who have been born because of through the causes which are non-aversion, non-craving and non-delusion. All three. Now for someone to be able to become a sotapanna, you have to have trihetuka pratisandhi. Otherwise, even if the Buddha were to preach you right now, if you are not a trihetuka pratisandhi labhi, you are not going to be able to comprehend the Dhamma. You will be able to understand the Dhamma, but not comprehend it. You will not be able to comprehend it, because you don't have the faculty of wisdom. The faculty of wisdom is not something that you possess, if you are a duhetuka pratisandhi labhi. Now, some of you might be already wondering, good heavens, what if I am a duhetuka then? What do I do now? Is it too late? So put your fears to a side. The thing is, you don't know whether you are a duhetuka or a trihetuka. Like I said, only a Buddha can attest to that. Only a Buddha can confirm that. So, let's say you are a Trihetuka. If you don't make effort, do you think you're going to be able to understand the Dhamma? You're a Trihetuka, but you don't care. Yeah, I'm a Trihetuka. One day, whenever, someday, I'll see when the time comes. And you don't make effort. Do you think you're ever going to become a Sotapanna? No. You're a Duhetuka. And you still make effort. You're not going to become a Sotapanna in this birth. That's not going to happen. But you don't know whether you're a Duhetuka or a Trihetuka. So what do you think you ought to do if you are a Duhetuka? And you don't know this, okay? So don't make any judgments. So this time I'm saying don't even make judgments on yourself, about yourself, let alone the other person. I've seen people saying like this to other people. Manang itin duhetukek ne? But me dhamma kohida teren. Telling other people off. You are a duhetuka. How are you going to be able to understand this dhamma? So I'm saying, let's put that to a side. I'm saying don't even judge yourself. What I would suggest is, imagine you are a Trihetuka and make every effort that you can. Because in doing so, if you are a Trihetuka, in actual matter of fact, then as a result of making effort, you may be able to become a Sotapanna in this birth. But if you are not a Trihetuka, as a result of making effort, in your next birth, you can acquire the merit to become a Trihetuka. And therefore continue the journey from that point forward. Now, you see, let's say you're all Trihetukas right now. Have we never been Dvihetukas in our past births? We've been Dvihetukas plenty of times. But in those births, what we did was we continued to acquire merit. And through the acquisition of merit, in this birth we have now been born Trihetukas. Here's another question. Let's imagine we're all Trihetukas now. Don't you think you've been Trihetukas in past births as well? Well, is this the first time you became a Trihetuka? No. But what was lacking then? Making effort. Well, there are a number of factors that are required. You need the Kalyana Mitra Sevane, Shana Sampatya, Saddharma Shravane, Dhammanudhamma Pratipadav, right? So Shana Sampatti includes this being a Trihetuka. Okay, so being a Trihetuka in itself is not enough. But the factors that we can influence are continue to make effort. So let's bring it back to the Anuttara Punyaketta, and because we are trying to describe the quality there. And what I was trying to explain is there's no point in sowing on barren land because you're not going to reap any crop. Okay? But we don't know if our land is barren. So what we ought to do is to continue to sow. Because if it's barren, it's not going to bear any crop. But it's okay. But at least we've learned how to be good farmers. Guess who's a better farmer? One who gets the best land or one who doesn't get the best land? Who's the better farmer? Who doesn't get the best land. Why? Because he's going to make extra effort. He's going to have to learn all the tricks of the trade. Who's a better sailor? One who can sail on calm waters or one who can sail in storm winds? Storm winds. One who can sail in the storm, that's a better sailor. How did he become the better sailor? By sailing on calm waters? No. Not by sailing on calm waters. He learned to become a good sailor by sailing in the storm. So, if you want to become a Trihetuka Pratisandhilabhi in the next birth, assuming that you are not one in this birth, what you ought to do then is, let's learn to be good farmers. Because if we learn to be good farmers, then in the next birth we can continue. And in our next birth, once our soil is suitable, then all we've got to do is then start sowing our seeds. Okay? Right. So, Anuttaram Punyakettam. Are we still live? Anuttaram punyakyattam. So we are speaking about preparing a plot of land that is suitable for cultivation. Now we are having to first chase these animals away. Now remember, this farmer, in the metaphor, he's chasing away elephants. Do you have elephants? Do you keep elephants? No? You sure? What's the land we are speaking of here? The mind. Are there elephants in your mind? Yes. Who are these elephants? Ego, pride, mana. Big animals. These animals who like to shake about, show their presence. I'm here. Have you seen how the elephants walk in the Perahara? How they show their grandeur to everyone around them? And even, when you've seen this, perhaps you've seen them, being walking along the road. When they walk, they move their trunk, right? They lift it up in the air, and they show their antics to everybody. Look, I'm here. Everyone, see, I'm here. Make note of the fact that I'm here. This is the nature of pride, the nature of ego. So there are plenty of elephants in our minds. When there are elephants in our minds, we can't start cultivating our land. Because what are elephants going to do? They're going to tread all over the crop and destroy it. This is not going to be a successful cultivation. So they have to be chased first of all. Then there are wild beasts, like the tigers, like the bears. Wild beasts who have sharp claws, who are just eager and waiting for prey to come along, and being the predators that they are, just waiting for an opportunity to snatch at another animal and shred them up into pieces and destroy them. Predators whose survival is based on that anger that dwells inside them, that ferocious nature that they have. Their survival depends on that. Ever seen a tiger walk up to a rabbit and go, "Hey rabbit, would you mind if I eat you?" Ever seen a lion do that? "Excuse me rabbit, do you mind if I have a bite?" No, lions and tigers and beasts are not like that. They are ferocious animals. They have no mercy. They have sharp claws to do what with? Pet? No. Destroy the other being. Destroy them, shred them up into pieces, and feast on them. Do you have tigers and lions and bears within you? Perhaps less so now. What about in the past? What about in the past, before you had the gift of Dhamma? If there was someone who came in front of you and said something that you didn't like, did something that you didn't like, walked in a way that you didn't like, what were you prepared to do? Jump at them with your feisty claws? How dare you? I'm going to eat you up. I'm going to shred you up into pieces. I'm going to destroy you. See, these are the beasts that used to dwell in our minds. Is there any way we can get the fans to work again? Okay. So these are the beasts that used to dwell in our minds, and perhaps still dwell in our minds. These are the beasts that have to be driven away, chased away. Because for as long as these beasts dwell in our minds, it's pointless to start growing crops on this land. Because these beasts are ferocious by nature. They're going to destroy everything that they see. Everything that comes across. So like the farmer who's chased away the beasts, chased away the elephants, the snakes, other types of reptiles, and we can go into detail in each of these animals. Remember the dung beetles we spoke about? Are there dung beetles in your mind? How many bowls of dung did you roll last week? Those who were, not last week but the week before, those who were here will know. Those who came along will know what I'm speaking of, right? So while there are dung beetles on this land, this is not a land for noble ones. Because these are qualities not of the noble ones. These are qualities of those who are destined for what? The hells. These are qualities that are destined for, these are the qualities of those that are destined for the hells. This is why one who has such qualities, one who has this feeling of anger, great desire, craving, and great pride, manena makkato, adimanena kukkuro. If you live in pride, if you live with great ego, you want, after death, you're going to be born a dog or a monkey. No one wants to be a monkey. No one wants to be a dog. But people don't like to put aside, they don't like to shed the qualities that make them a dog. That's the problem. They like to do dog-like things, but they don't like to be dogs. They like to do monkey-like things, but they don't like to be monkeys. They like to be ferocious. Have you not seen people sometimes in your workplaces? They act like they're the, I love that phrase, alpha male. Alpha male. You walk into a place and there's always an alpha male. Who's the dude? I'm the dude. Don't anyone come across me and I'll show you. Let's take this outside and see who's boss. Don't let me catch you outside, right? People who used to threat like that. Have you not seen people like that? These are the elephants. These are the wild beasts who are destined not for a noble path, ladies and gentlemen, but are destined for the great hells. What a pity. So, but we got to accept that this is where we started. This is where I started, most certainly. This is where I started. Having started there, having seen the errors in our ways, we begin to shed that. We begin to discard these bad qualities within us and begin to instill and cultivate good qualities. But what was it? Where did I begin to see these good qualities? In my association with moral and noble people. I didn't see these qualities under my desk. I didn't find them under a pillow. I didn't see it in a drawer, in a cupboard, in the pantry. That's not where I found good qualities. I found these qualities in other people. Just like you. In other people like yourselves. This is why association with good people and great people is absolutely fundamental to our journey. Satpurusha Sevane. The Lord Buddha says, the entirety of my Shasana depends on Satpurusha Sevane. The entirety of it. When Venerable Ananda says, Swamini Bhagyavan Mahansa, Venerable Sir, I think half of your Shasana, half of your dispensation, your ministry depends on the association with moral ones, noble ones, and the Lord Buddha says what? Ma hevang Ananda avacha. Ananda, do not speak like that. What you have said is incorrect. You have spoken wrong. The entirety of my ministry is dependent on the association with moral and noble ones. So when we associate moral and noble ones, ladies and gentlemen, what we do is we begin to chase away the animals, the beasts that used to live and dwell on our land, so that now we have a land that is free from beasts, free from animals, and a land that is now ready for us to start perhaps deforestation. Because if you want to grow the crop that you want to grow, first you have to remove the stuff that's there already. You have to remove the foliage, you have to remove the other crops that are there that you don't need and that's getting in the way. All of that has to go away. So now you've chased away the animals. Next step is now to do that. But before you do that, there's one other thing you need to do. And that is, you have to mark your borders. Because now that you've chased the animals away, what's going to happen if you don't pull up a fence? They're going to come back. They're going to come back. If you don't pull up a fence, they're going to come back. So the first thing you have to do once you've chased these animals away is to pull up a fence. So the wise farmer is now, it's now time for him to pull up a fence. So he sticks 4, what would you call them? Not pegs, but what would you call them? Stakes, yes, thank you. 4 stakes on the ground, on 4 corners, and then he starts pulling a fence around this plot of land. Remember, one of you once asked me, can you speak to me about the Chaturarakkav? Some time ago. I'll speak to you about that on another day. But related to that is the Satara Satipatthana. The Satara Satipatthana is what the Lord Buddha says. This is the land of the Father. Piyage Bhumiya. The land of the Father. This is the land on which we are now trying to cultivate, sow seeds that have been passed down to us by our Father. So the farmer has his father who has passed on these seeds. He says these are good seeds. If you cultivate them, if you grow them well, you're going to get a good crop out of it. So likewise, our Father, who's our Father in this context? The Buddha, indeed. So the Buddha has given us seeds that we can now start to sow on our land, but we need to use the Satara Satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. These 4 stakes, the 4 stakes that we have planted into the ground are the 4 foundations of mindfulness. We started to speak about that, I think, a few weeks ago. Kayanupassanav, Chittanupassanav, Vedananupassanav, Dhammanupassanav. So these 4 are the stakes that we have to now plant onto the soil and now start drawing the fence. Now we have a land that is free from animals, free from the beasts, and we have marked our ground on which we are now prepared to start sowing. The reason that the Buddha says make sure that you have this fence around you before you start is because, remember, ekayano ayam bhikkave maggo sattanam visuddhya. There's but one path for the liberation of all beings. Just one path. Not 2, 1. And that is the Satara Satipatthana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So from the point that you start to cultivate these values within us, ladies and gentlemen, from the point you have now decided your land, you have chased away the animals, right from the word go, you need to have what? Kayanupassanav, Chittanupassanav, Vedananupassanav, Chittanupassanav, and Dhammanupassanav. So we started to speak about the Kayanupassanav in one of those sermons. We spoke about Anapanasati. In brief, as a reminder, this is making sure that what you begin to associate now, because animals and other beings, they'll come up to the fence. They'll come up to the fence. Remember we spoke about enemies who come in disguise? I think in the last sermon that we did, remember? Enemies who come in disguise. Enemies will come up to the fence and say, hey, I'm a friend. Why don't you let me in? So you got to be clever enough to check, is this a friend or foe? For that you need to be knowledgeable, you need to be wise, and you need to be constantly in check of what it is that you are hoping to achieve. What is your goal? What is your ambition? In trying to prepare this land, in trying to cultivate. So with Kaya Anupassanawa, Kaye Kaya Anupassi Viharati Atapi Sampajano Satima Vinaya Loke Abhijja Domanasa. Remember, Assasasa Passasasa, associate that which should be associated with, and dissociate that which should be dissociated with. Stop your associations with those that you should no longer be associating with, and continue to foster the associations with those who you should associate with. Assasati Passasati. Asuru Karanna, Paha Karanna. So that's the Kaya Anupassana. One of the 14 types of Kaya Anupassana. I'm not going to go into detail. Okay? And then there's the Chitta Anupassana. Be mindful about your thoughts. Because what you're trying to do now is to cultivate this ground which is your mind. And into your mind, all types of thoughts are going to creep in. You know, when you see a rupa, when you hear shabda, gandha, rasa, sparsha, all of these are arammana, objects, mind objects that come from the outside world. Remember, you still haven't reaped your crop. It's still wild crops there. All you've done at this point in time is just marked your land. That's all you've done so far. So far, it's still appealing to the wild beasts, because they come looking for shelter in the foliage. They come looking for food. This is the food. This is where they used to dwell. So they still have food where they used to live. So in your land, you still have food that is appealing, that is inviting to those animals that you just chased away. That is a problem. Yes, you've drawn a fence, but you still have food which is very appealing to those animals, to those beasts. So you have to be very careful, and only let those who have to be let in, and others, you must make sure that they don't come in. So for that you have to be mindful about how your mind operates. What are the thoughts that come into my mind? And then what about the feelings that I have? The Sukha Vedana, the Dukkha Vedana, the Adukkama Sukha Vedana. How do I feel when I see a Rupa? Do I feel happy about that? Do I feel pleasure? And as you'll know by now, after having listened to these sermons for some time, whenever you experience pleasure, what lies behind it? Suffering. There's vexation, right? So you have to be mindful. Whenever you see pleasure, remember last week we spoke about, I'm going to check your homework in a moment. Don't think I've forgotten. I'm going to check your homework. Remember the happiness test? You promised me, and you promised me you'd go and speak to 5 people. What was the other thing you promised? There were 3 things. What was the third thing? What we spoke about a few moments ago right at the beginning. The not okays. Remember? Yes. The parents. So those are the 3 things. So one, well, I can't check if you've done it, but the other 2 I'm going to ask you, and then you're going to have to answer honestly. Otherwise you're going to be lying to me. Pansalata avila pav karanna onne naha. Okay. So we'll continue. So you still have food that is very appetizing, very appealing, very inviting to the animals, and so that food is still on the land. And while you still have that food on your land, inviting environment for the animals, you have to be mindful about your thoughts and how you feel about the outside world, whether you create your pleasure world that we've spoken about in the past. And in order for you to be able to do this, there's a Dhamma Anupassana, Anicca Dukkha Anatta, Paticca Samuppada, all of this, dependent origination, and the true nature of this world, the true nature of the Dhamma, the true nature of the cosmos. So by reflecting on the true nature of the world, You associate with what you have to associate, and you dissociate what you should dissociate with. So this is, again, we'll speak about this in later sermons, but for now it was just a very brief reminder for those who are looking for that extra little bit, for the bonus price. Okay? Right, let's continue. So, land is now secure, the a fence has been drawn around, and now it's time to start removing the wild crops, preparing your land for cultivation. So now what the farmer does is, now he brings a mammoth. Mammoth, right? Mammoth? Yes, a mammoth. He brings a mammoth, and now he starts to uproot the wild crops that has to be removed, and he starts to prepare the soil ready for the next point, which is where he comes to start sowing the seeds. That is what anuttaram punya kettang means. Anuttara vu pin keta. Ketak kiyane mokada? A field. Pin keta. Anuttara pin keta. So this is a field on which you and I, as mundane worldly people that we used to be, started to prepare, started to grow our crop. But before that we had to go through the process of preparing it for cultivation. And that's what we did. So you see, if this is what you do in your minds, is that not preparing ourselves? Is that not instilling ourselves, cultivating values that will help us attain Nibbana? Is this, must this and should this not be the first step on the path to Nibbana? Because remember, we are, it's initially it was a jungle. We are trying to grow the crop, and we are trying to reap the fruit of Nibbana. But before we do that, you have to have a land that is ready for that. And prior to doing that, you have to prepare your land. Did you have a question, sir? Okay. So this is what anuttara punya kettang means. Now there is also the conventional meaning, which I'll remind you briefly, which is the Mahasangha is are prime recipients to receive dana, your charity, your donations. The Mahasangha is the prime recipient to receive your charity, which is absolutely true. There's nothing wrong about that. And when I say when I speak of the Mahasangha, who do I speak of? Me and Dasahamdru? No. The Mahasangha includes all the Mahasanghas that were present in the past, in the present, and will be present in the future. This includes all of the Samma Sambuddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas, and all the way down to the Kasava Kantakas, that will be the last link of the Mahasangha. And everyone in between. Right from the Buddha, the first Buddha ever to have set foot. Don't ask me when. Don't ask me how many. I don't know. And the last Kasava Kantaka, when the last person attains Nibbana, after all beings in this whole universe has attained Nibbana, the last person who represents the Mahasangha, that very person, everyone in between, that's the Mahasangha. This is why the Buddha says, when you offer a dana, offering it to the Mahasangha is more meritorious than offering it even to the Buddha individually. So this is the anuttara punya keta that we all need to try to prepare within our own minds, because it's only on that soil, only on that ground, that we can then start to reap the seed of Dhamma. So in future sermons I'll continue to explain to you the profound meaning behind each of these qualities that we need to instill within ourselves. But I think what we really need to take, the gist of this, even if you didn't take in any of what I said for the last hour or so, what we need to take from the gist of this is the transformation of a mundane worldly person into an arahant is nothing other than instilling and cultivating values. So when someone listens to the Dhamma, when someone listens to the Paticca Samuppada Dhamma, when someone listens to the Anicca Dukkha Anatta Dhamma, and he begins to understand and comprehend this Dhamma, through that understanding, through that comprehension, what should happen within that person is the shedding away of the bad qualities and instilling within them and cultivating the good qualities. Because if you don't do that, all you're doing is acquiring knowledge. Acquisition of knowledge is not going to transform you into an Arahatan Vahanse. Acquisition of knowledge is not going to help you do that. Acquisition of value, acquisition of great qualities, that is what's going to transform you into a Sotapanna, into a Sakurdagami, into an Anagami, and into an Arahatun Vahanse. And perhaps some of you, your ambition might be to become a Pacceka Buddha. Not mine, but there may be others among you who wish for that. Well, how does one become a Pacceka Buddha? By instilling within them these values. There may be others among you who want to become a Samma Sambuddha. Not mine, but there may be some among you who wish for that. And to become a Samma Sambuddha, well, there's nothing other than that you need to do. Association of the Dhamma, practicing the Dhamma, fulfilling the Dhamma is nothing other than instilling within yourself, fulfilling within yourself, cultivating within yourself the qualities of that great character, that great personality that you want to become. That is what transforming yourself is. This. Through the Dhamma you will begin to see the rebirth process. Through the Dhamma you will begin to see that there was a past birth and there is a future birth. Through the Dhamma you will begin to see this. But until that time, wait. What I'm asking you to do is don't discard it just because it's not perceivable by you like I used to do. Because if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to build up these walls. No, don't talk to me about it. I am not going to believe in any of that. It's all rubbish, nonsense, take it away. When you do that, even when someone's prepared to speak to you, prepared to show you right from wrong, who's not prepared to change their view, even when fact has been laid out in front of them, even when data and information has been laid out in front of them, point blank, no, I'm not prepared to accept. Don't become that kind of person, because then you're doing yourself a disservice. If you didn't, think about our ancestors. If they were not prepared to believe in germs, bacteria and viruses, where would humanity be today? We'd still be praying to the gods, asking for them to cure our illnesses, wouldn't we? But thanks to those who discovered the microscope, who began to observe that there are microbes and microorganisms and bacteria and viruses and so on that are responsible for illnesses. If you were someone who was a point blank skeptic, no, I'm not going to believe that. It's just gods and that's it. Or whatever. It's just coincidence. Pneumonia is coincidence. Well, if someone says pneumonia is coincidence, then even if you have the medicine for it, just say, well, it was coincidence. By coincidence you will be treated. Don't ask me for the medicines. Don't ask me for treatment. So don't be a permanent skeptic like that. Always be prepared to consider. And this is why I always say, don't be followers. Always be a student, not a follower. Because a student is someone who's always analytical. They'll always analyze. Every word I say, you're wise people, you're intelligent, you have to analyze everything I say. I'm not an Arahatun Vahanse. I still have ignorance. But people say, apparently I have claimed that I'm an Arahatun Vahanse. Apparently. I don't know why people give me credit when I don't deserve it. Must be merits I've done in the past. Oh well. I am not an Arahatun Vahanse. I have plenty of ignorance within me. So, you must not take everything I say at face value. You have to analyze every word I say. Apply it into your own lives and check if what I'm saying makes sense. So, someone who does not believe in worldly or mundane right view is not prepared to instill within them qualities that make them a better person. So before they begin to realize that the mother and the father are special people, they're going to have to associate someone who helps them understand that. Just like my mother sat me down and taught me that Puta, Amma and Appachi are not just any old two people, not just any old people. They are special people in your life. They explained to me that. So they took me from mundane Mithya Ditti to mundane Samma Ditti. And any mundane person can do that. You don't need a Sotapanna for that. You need a Sotapanna, at least a Sotapanna. You need a noble person to transform a mundane person to a noble person. But anyone can, any good person can transform a bad person to a good person. Now, what's a bad person and a good person? Are there such people? No. There are no bad people and good people. These are just the qualities. So when I say good person, I'm speaking of someone who accepts that a certain quality is a good quality. As an example, let's say there's a family. The father is a drunkard and he's a womanizer. He spends all day drinking, womanizing, and then he comes home, and then when he sees his son, he says, Puta, did you worship the Buddha before you go to sleep? Now, isn't that a good quality? This is a drunkard. He's a womanizer. He wastes his time during the day, but when he comes home, he speaks to his son and he asks his child, and he asks, did you worship the Buddha in the morning? Did you worship Amma before you left for school? Did you worship the Buddha now that you're off to bed? Does this person not believe that worshipping his mother is a good deed, is a good thing to do, it's a good value, a good quality? He believes in that. Although he's a drunkard, although he's a womanizer, he sees that these qualities are good qualities. Respecting your parents is a good quality. Worshipping the Buddha is a good quality. So just by virtue of that, he's good in that aspect. So associating with that person alone can transform someone who does not worship his mother to someone who worships his mother. And that is association with moral people. Remember, it's moral dhammas that we associate. Although we use the word Satpurusha Sevane, we are speaking about the dhammas. Because we're not in the business of talking about individuals. We don't speak about individuals. Although we do conventionally, we are speaking about the qualities that they possess, the dhammas that they possess. It's quite subtle there, so I hope what I'm trying to express is coming clear to you. A good person is not a good person because he's tall or short or fat or thin. He's a good person because there are good qualities within him. So when someone mentors another person, right? I'm sure there'll be lots of you who might have mentored others in your lives, either personal lives or professional lives. In the process of mentoring, what is it that you do? You recognize that there are good qualities, right? Good values. And what do? You help the other person to cultivate those good values, those good qualities within them. Now, does that mean that you are perfect? Does that mean that you do not have any bad qualities within you? No. But you are still a mentor, aren't you? So in the process of mentoring, you're giving the good that you have. And what I've learned in my days of mentoring is a two-way street. You give and take at the same time. So as I'm giving, I'm also taking, I'm learning from the other person. And I'm learning about myself as well at the same time. So you see, someone who didn't used to worship his parents, someone who didn't used to worship the Buddha, someone who didn't even think about going to the temple, sleep in the Bodhi precinct, right? He didn't think about doing anything like that. Associating with a moral person, a Satpurusha, now his life has transformed. In the association with that moral person, what was the real transaction between the two people? Was it food? Was it clothes? Was it medicine? Was it anything else? Was it money? What was it? The Dhamma. The Dhamma was the transaction. I have the Dhamma, take it. So, then you can answer this question for me. The statement, the proposal I gave to you before. Isn't the understanding of the Dhamma the same thing as cultivating values within ourselves? Aren't they one and the same? Because what is this moral person helping the other person do? He's giving Dhammas. Puta, come here, sit down. Why did you throw the wrapper out the window? That's a bad thing to do. I understand it's a bad thing to do, therefore I'm showing you that it's a bad thing to do. Don't do it again. What is this transaction? Dhamma. In doing that, does he not become a better person? Was it not the Dhamma that helped him transform? Now, doesn't that person go from being a Laukika Mithya Drishtikaya to a Laukika Samma Drishtikaya? So aren't they one and the same? Understanding, comprehending the Dhamma and instilling and cultivating values within oneself. Now over time this person, having become having mundane right view, on one fine day gets the opportunity to associate a noble person. This is an Arya. And this Arya now starts to speak to him, gives him the Dhamma. Once again it's the Dhamma, nothing else. What else do I have to give to you other than the Dhamma? That's all I have to give to you. In my giving of the Dhamma to you, in this dispensation of the Dhamma, you begin to understand that this world is anicca, dukkha, anatta. Before you understand it, before you comprehended that this world was anicca, dukkha, anatta, what was your view prior to that? Niccai, sukhai, attai. And having had such thoughts, having a view, having a perspective, having the vision that this world is niccai, sukhai, attai, what were you inclined to do? Indulge in sensuality? Trying to acquire everything that you desired? It didn't matter whether you had to steal. It didn't matter whether you had to speak harsh words. It didn't matter whether you had to lie. It didn't matter whether you had to take someone's life. It didn't matter. None of that mattered. Why? Because you saw the world as being pleasurable. Existence and continuing to exist in this world is what everyone has to do, because this world is niccai, sukhai, attai. This was the view that you used to have. But in your association with a noble person, what happened? I'm not saying that I'm a noble person, by the way. I'm saying in your associations with noble people, what happened was you began to understand that actually these things that I thought was niccai, sukhai, attai, these things that I thought bring me plenty and loads of pleasure, worlds of pleasure, ultimately bring me what? Dissatisfaction, frustration, suffering, vexation. These are not things that have to be associated with. These are things that have to be dissociated with. And with your understanding of that, did you slowly and steadily, but gradually, not start to distance yourself from the unmeritorious deeds? Previously you used to lie to acquire what it is that you wanted to desire, but then through the understanding of the Dhamma you began to realize, what's the point? These things, these rupa, shabda, gandha, rasa, sparsha, none of these things are pleasurable ultimately. Behind all this pleasure lies vexation. Behind all this pleasure lies suffering and pain. What is the point? It's futile, meaningless. And if it's futile and it's meaningless, what is the point in me doing this unmeritorious deed to acquire it? After all, I'm only going to be at more of a loss than when I started. So the more you listen to the Dhamma, the more you comprehended the Dhamma, the more you were able to attach or let go. Let go. And the more you let go, the more you were inclined to do the unmeritorious deeds, or the more you were distanced from the unmeritorious deeds. The more you began to distance yourself from the unmeritorious deeds. tell me then, compare two people. One's a robber, the other does not steal, no matter what the circumstances are. Doesn't the second person have more quality, more value, greater quality, greater value than the first? How did that person come to that state of mind? Through the association of the Dhamma. So then tell me, isn't understanding the Dhamma, not acquiring knowledge, by the way, okay? This is comprehending the Dhamma, avbodhe, not danaganima, avbodhe. Comprehending the Dhamma, isn't that the same as cultivating good, great values within oneself? Now do you see why, when you continue this path, the Noble Eightfold Path, continue to associate the Dhammas, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to do anything especially, you don't have to do anything particularly differently to instill the 24 qualities of the Triple Gem within you. Amathuwen karana deyak naha. Through your understanding of the Dhamma, through your comprehension of the Dhamma, those qualities will be instilled within you, will be cultivated within you. And ultimately, when all 24 qualities have been instilled within you, what have you transformed into? An Arahant. And yes, on that day, there will be thunders. Why? The Devas will sing praises. The Brahmins, the Brahmas will sing praises. They will say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The day when you have instilled and cultivated all 24 qualities within yourself, and you have transformed into an Arahatun Vahanse. So you see, whichever way you look at it, you can take one of two paths. You can either follow the path of looking at, investigating what these qualities are and instilling them within you,